The Mirror's Promise. Welcome to Dark Tales Tonight, where we tell stories that make your heart race. Tonight we share the strange story of a girl in 1930s Russia who made a deal she couldn't break. The cold winter winds blew hard across the small village of Krem. Snow covered the ground deep. Between the tall pine trees and the frozen Vulga river sat a small wooden house. This was home to the Vulof family. Mikuel worked cutting trees. His hands were rough from years of hard work. His wife Anna knew about healing plants from the forest. She made medicine for the sick people in town. They had one daughter named Kadia. In 1930, Russia was changing fast. Stalin was the leader now. He wanted everyone to work together on big farms. Old ways of living were disappearing. New ideas about work and life were taking over. But in the small village of Krem, change came slowly. The people still believed in old stories about forest spirits and house ghosts. They only talked about these things when government people weren't around. Kadia Vulova was born on the shortest day of winter in 1920. That night, green and purple lights danced across the sky. This was very unusual so far south. The old woman who helped with the birth was named Babea. When she first held baby Kadia, she made the sign of the cross. The baby didn't cry when she was born. Instead, she just stared at the colored lights outside the window. "This is a strange child," Babea whispered to Anna. "Born between worlds on the longest night. You must watch her very carefully." For the first few years, Kadia seemed normal. She was curious and playful. She laughed often. Her eyes were gray like storm clouds. Her hair was golden like wheat in autumn. She was beautiful in a way that made people stop and look. By age 5, she could remember every story after hearing it just once. The old people in the village loved this. They would invite her for tea and ask her to tell stories. But when Kadia got close to her 7th birthday, Mikuel and Anna noticed something wrong. While other children got taller and lost their baby teeth, Kadia stayed exactly the same. Her face stayed round like a little child's. Her baby teeth never got loose. She didn't grow even 1 inch taller. At first, they thought she was just slow to grow. Maybe she would have a growth spurt later and catch up with other kids her age. But by her 8th birthday, nothing had changed. Anna took Kadia to see the doctor in the bigger town of Volgrad. It took a full day to get there by horse and cart. "Sometimes children grow at different speeds," the doctor said after checking Kadia. "Maybe she's just small for her age. Food has been hard to get since the revolution. Give her more milk and eggs if you can find them." Mikuel traded his woodworking skills for extra food. He made sure Kadia got the best food possible in those hard times. But still, she stayed exactly the same. She looked like a 7-year-old forever. By 1930, Kadia was 10 years old, but she still looked like she was 7. People in the small village were starting to notice. Everyone knew everyone else's business. Children who used to play with her were now much taller. They started treating her differently. Some were curious about why she never changed. Others were mean to her because she was different. One cold February afternoon, Mikuel came home from cutting trees. He found Anna sitting alone at the kitchen table. She held a cup of tea in her hands, but it had gotten cold. She was staring at nothing. "Where is Kadia?" he asked. He hung his heavy coat by the door. "She's with Babea," Anna said. Her voice sounded empty. "I needed time to think." Mikuel sat down next to his wife. He took her cold hands in his warm ones. "Something happened," he said. It wasn't a question. Anna nodded. She finally looked at him. "I was fixing her winter dress today, the blue one with flowers on it. I noticed it looked brand new. Not one thread was loose. The colors hadn't faded at all. But she has worn that dress every Sunday for 3 years. Children take good care of their best clothes," Mikuel said, but he didn't sound sure. "No, Misha. I watched her today. She cut her finger while helping me peel potatoes. It was a deep cut that should have bled a lot." Anna's voice got very quiet. "The cut closed up right before my eyes. In just a few minutes, there was no sign it had ever happened." Mikuel's face got serious. The lines around his eyes got deeper. "You must have been wrong. Maybe the cut wasn't as deep as you thought." "I know what I saw," Anna said firmly. She pulled her hands away from his. And it's not the first time. Last fall when she fell from the apple tree and scraped her knees badly. Remember how fast she healed? No scars at all. And have you noticed she never gets sick? Not once. Not even when half the village was in bed with the flu last winter. Mikuel stood up fast. He started walking back and forth in the small kitchen. These are good things, not bad things. Our daughter is healthy and strong. Why do you talk like these are problems? Because they're not natural, Anna said sharply. Then she quickly crossed herself. Forgive me, but you know it's true. Children change. They grow. They get hurt and keep scars. Kadia does not. That night, after they brought Kadia home from Babaya's house and put her to bed, Mikuel went into her room. Moonlight came through the curtains and lit up her sleeping face. She looked like an angel, peaceful and perfect. She looked exactly the same as the day she turned 7. He looked at her small hands on top of the blanket. He tried to find the cut Anna had talked about. Her skin was perfect. No mark at all. Mikuel went back to his bedroom. Anna was still awake, staring at the ceiling. We will take her to Moscow, he decided. There are better doctors there. Modern science. They will tell us what is happening. The party officials barely let village people travel to the district center, let alone Moscow, Anna said. And we don't have money for such a trip. I will find a way, Mikuel said firmly. I'll talk to Comrade Leonov tomorrow. His brother works for the railroad. Maybe he can help. But as February turned into March and winter started to end, it became clear that getting to Moscow would be almost impossible. The Soviet authorities didn't trust peasants who wanted to leave their villages, especially during planting season. Comrade Leonov, the local party representative, laughed at Mikuel's request. Moscow? What business does a tree cutter have in Moscow? The capital is for important party business, not for peasants with sick children. Use the district hospital like everyone else. Meanwhile, strange things kept happening around Kadia. The family cat, who used to be friendly to everyone, started hissing and arching its back whenever she came into a room. The milk in their cellar went sour overnight after Kadia went to get some. A mirror cracked when she looked into it too long. These were small things that could be explained away one by one. But together they made everyone in the house feel nervous. By April, the other villagers started to notice too. When Kadia went to school, which was one room where children of all ages learned to read and write and about Soviet ideas, the other students kept their distance. It wasn't because they were being mean. It was instinct. Like animals sensing danger, they stayed away from her without knowing why. The teacher, Comrade Soroka, came to talk to Anna one afternoon after school ended. Your daughter is very smart, she said, adjusting her wire glasses. Her essays are much better than what I expect from a child her age. But I'm worried about how she gets along with other children. They don't include her in their games. She's always been different, Anna said carefully. Quieter and more thoughtful than most children. It's more than that, Soroka said firmly. Yesterday, during our science lesson about how the human body works, I was explaining how children grow and develop. Kadia raised her hand and said quite firmly that not everyone needs to grow. She said some people are meant to stay the same forever. The teacher lowered her voice. When I corrected her and explained that all living things must change and eventually die, she smiled in a way that made my blood run cold. Not everyone, she said again. That night, Anna talked to Kadia as she sat by the window, watching stars appear in the evening sky. Your teacher talked to me today, Anna began. She sat next to her daughter on the wooden bench. She says you've been saying strange things in class. Kadia turned to her mother. Her gray eyes reflected the first evening star. I only told the truth. What truth, Katusha? Anna asked, using the pet name she hadn't felt comfortable using for months. That I don't need to grow like the others, Kadia said matter-of-factly. I'm different. Everyone grows, my dear. It's the way of all living things. Kadia shook her head. A small smile played on her lips. Not me. I decided not to. A chill ran down Anna's back. What do you mean you decided? The night of my 7th birthday. I was looking at the stars just like now. I wished I could stay this way forever. Young, perfect, loved. And something in the darkness heard me. Kadia's voice got dreamy. It whispered that I could stop time for myself if I really wanted to. So I said yes. Anna tried to keep her face calm, but fear grabbed at her throat. What whispered to you, Kadia? The girl shrugged. I don't know its name. It doesn't need one. It's very old. From before names existed. She turned back to the window. It visits me sometimes in my dreams. It shows me things. What kinds of things? Anna asked. Her mouth felt dry. The past, the future, places far away. Kadia's reflection in the dark glass seemed older somehow. Her childish face looked sharp for a moment, like something ancient. It shows me what people are really like under their skin. Anna stood up quickly. It's time for bed. You have school tomorrow. As she helped Kadia get ready for bed, doing the familiar routine that now felt like pretending, Anna noticed a small leather pouch hanging from a cord around her daughter's neck. She had never seen it before. What's this? She asked, reaching for it. Kadia's hand shot up with surprising speed. She grabbed Anna's wrist with unexpected strength. Don't touch it. It's mine. Anna pulled her hand back, shocked by both the grip and the fierce way her daughter protected the pouch. Her voice was usually so gentle. Where did you get it? It was a gift, Kadia said. Her tone became childlike again. For protection. From who? Kadia yawned. Her eyelids drooped. My friend. The one who whispers. He keeps me safe. After Kadia fell asleep, Anna ran to the kitchen. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely light the oil lamp. Mikuel found her there an hour later. He had just come back from his evening meeting at the village Soviet, where the men gathered to talk about tree-cutting quotas and repeat party slogans. What happened? He asked, alarmed by his wife's pale face. Anna told him about her conversation with Kadia, forcing out each word. When she mentioned the pouch, Mikuel's expression darkened. I'll look at it while she sleeps, he decided. If it's something dangerous, I'll destroy it. And if it's something else? Anna asked. She couldn't put her fears into words. Mikuel had no answer. That night, while Kadia slept deeply, Mikuel crept into her room. The leather pouch rested against her chest, moving up and down with her breathing. With careful fingers, he untied the cord and slipped the pouch free. It felt warm to the touch, warmer than it should have been from just body heat. He went back to the kitchen where Anna waited nervously. Together, they opened the small pouch and tipped out what was inside. A small object fell onto the table. It was a figure carved from what looked like old, yellowed bone. It showed a child with a too big head and long, thin arms and legs. The features were wrong somehow, ugly without being obviously monstrous. Around the figure's neck, just like the pouch itself, was a tiny carved copy of a similar charm. This is not a child's toy, Mikuel whispered. He poked the figure with a knife instead of touching it directly. Where would she get such a thing? She said it was from her friend who whispers, Anna replied. She made the sign of the cross. Misha, I'm scared. It's probably something one of the village children gave her, Mikuel said, though his voice didn't sound convinced. Some old thing found in an attic. Nothing more. Then why did she guard it so fiercely? Why keep it secret? Anna picked up the knife and pointed it at the figure. We should destroy it. Mikuel nodded and took the knife from her. He pressed the blade against the figure, meaning to split it in two. But as the metal touched the yellowed material, a high-pitched sound came from the carving. It wasn't loud, but it cut through everything, like the distant scream of someone falling from a great height. Both adults jerked back. From Kadia's room came a sudden thump, followed by the sound of small feet on the wooden floor. She's awake, Anna gasped. She quickly scooped the figure back into its pouch. But before they could hide what they had been doing, Kadia appeared in the doorway. She wore her nightgown. Her wheat-colored hair hung loose around her shoulders. In the dim lamplight, her eyes looked completely black. The gray parts were swallowed by huge black pupils. That's mine, she said. Her voice was strangely flat. You had no right to take it. Katusha, Mikuel began, rising from his chair. We were worried. Give it back. The shout that came from the child was nothing like her normal voice. It was deeper, with strange harmonics that made the oil lamp flicker and the windows shake in their frames. Anna gasped and dropped the pouch on the table. Kadia darted forward, snatching it up and holding it against her chest. As her fingers closed around the leather, her posture changed. The stiff tension left her small body. Her eyes gradually returned to normal. It protects me, she said, sounding like herself again. You don't understand. Protects you from what, Kadia? Mikuel asked, trying to keep his voice steady. From time, she replied simply. From growing old and ugly and dying like everyone else. She looked between her parents. Sudden sadness crossed her face. Like you will. Anna put her hand over her mouth to stop a sob. Mikuel knelt in front of his daughter, forcing himself to look directly into her eyes. Kadia, this isn't right. Whatever this thing is, whatever deal you think you've made, it can't be good. Please let us help you. For a moment, something like doubt flickered in Kadia's eyes, a glimpse of the normal child she had once been. Then her expression hardened, taking on a maturity that looked wrong on her 7-year-old face. You can't help me, she stated. No one can. This is what I am now. She turned and walked back to her bedroom with the measured steps of someone much older. Don't touch my things again. After that night, a heavy tension settled over the Vulof household. Kadia continued her routine, going to school, helping with chores, acting in most ways like an ordinary child. But the moments of wrongness increased. Mikuel and Anna would catch her staring at them while they slept. Objects would move between rooms with no explanation. The pouch never left her neck. Most disturbing were the changes in Kadia's knowledge and abilities. She began speaking languages she had never learned. Bits of German, Latin phrases, words in tongues neither parent recognized. Her school essays contained references to historical events and scientific concepts far beyond what rural Soviet schools taught. When asked how she knew these things, she would only smile and say, "My friend shows me." By May, Anna had started sleeping with a small icon of the Virgin Mary hidden under her pillow. This was dangerous in the Soviet Union where religion was forbidden. Mikuel, though he had publicly embraced communist ideology as required, began visiting the old church on the edge of the forest. It had been abandoned since the revolution, but it was still standing. Among the dusty pews and faded paintings of saints, he would sit in silence, searching for answers in a faith he had been forced to give up. It was during one such visit that he met Father Kadia, a priest who was supposed to have fled to Ukraine years ago when the Bolsheviks began executing clergymen. The elderly man came out from the shadows behind the altar. His black robe was dusty. His beard was streaked with gray. "I wondered when one of you would come seeking help," the priest said. He sat beside Mikuel on the worn wooden pew. "The village talks about your daughter." Mikuel stiffened. "What do they say? That she doesn't age. That animals fear her. That strange lights have been seen around your home at night." Father Kadia's watery eyes fixed on Mikuel's face. "These are not new stories, Mikuel Vulof. They have been told before in different times, different places. What are you saying? That your daughter is not the first child to make a bargain with forces beyond our understanding." The priest pulled a small leather-bound book from inside his robe. In the 1600s, a girl in a village near Arkhangelsk stopped aging at 9. In 1803, a boy in Siberia remained an infant for 60 years before vanishing during a winter storm. In 1889, twins in Poland looked like 5-year-olds well into their 20s until their parents. The priest trailed off, turning pages in his book. "Until their parents what?" Mikuel demanded. Father Kadia closed the book. "They did what they believed necessary to free their children's souls." The meaning hung in the air between them, unspoken but unmistakable. "I would never hurt my daughter," Mikuel said firmly, standing up. "Whatever is happening, we will find another way." "There may not be another way," the priest replied. "What lives inside your daughter now, what she invited in, it will not leave willingly. With each passing day, less of your true child remains. You're wrong, Mikuel insisted. Kadia is still there. I see her sometimes behind her eyes, afraid and confused. Then that is both blessing and curse, Father Kadir said, also rising. A blessing that some spark of her true self remains to be saved. A curse because she knows what is happening to her. The priest pressed the small book into Mikuel's hands. Read this. It contains accounts of similar cases throughout history and the methods used to address them. Some successful, others. He crossed himself. Less so. Mikuel tucked the book inside his coat. If Comrade Leonov discovers I've been speaking with a priest. I was never here, Father Kadir said with a tired smile. A ghost telling tales of other ghosts. That's all. When Mikuel returned home, he found Anna sitting at the kitchen table with Babea, the old midwife who had delivered Kadia 10 years earlier. Both women fell silent as he entered, exchanging glances full of unspoken meaning. Where is Kadia? He asked immediately. At the river with the other children, Anna replied. Comrade Soroka is teaching them to swim. Mikuel doubted his daughter was actually participating. More likely she was sitting on the bank watching with those knowing eyes while keeping her careful distance. Babea and I have been talking, Anna continued. Her voice was measured. About Kadia. The old woman fixed Mikuel with a sharp stare from under her heavy brows. I should have recognized the signs when she was born, she said. Her hands were twisted like old tree roots in her lap. Silent birth, eyes too aware. Born when the wall between worlds was thinnest. Under normal circumstances, Mikuel would have dismissed such talk as superstition. Dangerous superstition in Soviet Russia, where scientific thinking was the only acceptable worldview. But normal had left their lives months ago. What does it mean? He asked, sinking into a chair. She carries an old one within her, Babea stated flatly. A spirit from the time before, when the forests were vast and humans few. They envy our warm blood, our ability to change and grow, to live fully and die completely. How could such a thing happen to a child? Mikuel demanded. Kadia was innocent. Good. The innocent are most vulnerable, the old woman replied. Their souls not yet fully anchored to this world. And your Kadia was born between years, between seasons, between night and day. She was more vulnerable than most. A door left open. And this old one, Anna said. It offered her something. Eternal childhood. Babea nodded. A common lure. Children fear growing up, taking on responsibilities, eventually facing death. The old ones know this fear and use it. She leaned forward, lowering her voice though no one else was present. But the bargain is false. The child does not remain a child. Not truly. The body may stay unchanged. But the mind gathers years, decades, eventually centuries of knowledge and experience. Trapped in a child's form but ancient within. A torment of its own kind. What can we do? Mikuel asked, thinking of the priest's book hidden in the woodshed where he had put it after returning home. There are methods, Babea said carefully. Rituals from the old days, before the church, before the party. But they carry risk. Great risk for Kadia. For all involved. The old woman stood, bones creaking. I will gather what is needed. 3 nights from now, when the moon is dark, be ready. After she had gone, Mikuel told Anna about his meeting with Father Kadir. She showed no surprise at the priest's continued presence in the region. The old ways continue, she said simply. Church or folk magic both go on in secret. The party men may rule by day, but they don't go into the forests at night. They don't hear what whispers between the trees. That evening, when Kadia returned from the river, her clothes were perfectly dry. Her hair wasn't messed up by the wind that had blown all day. She moved through the house like a silent ghost, watching her parents with careful detachment. During dinner, she spoke little, pushing food around her plate without eating. Aren't you hungry, Katusha? Anna asked, forcing her voice to sound normal. I don't need food anymore, Kadia replied matter-of-factly. My friend provides what I require. Mikuel and Anna looked at each other across the table. Everyone needs food to live, Mikuel said carefully. It's how bodies work. Kadia tilted her head, studying her father with clinical interest. Your body, perhaps. Mine is different now. She pushed her plate away. May I be excused? I want to read before bed. After she had gone, Mikuel got the priest's book from its hiding place in the woodshed. He and Anna bent over it at the kitchen table, reading by lamplight. Their shadows stretched huge against the walls. The book contained accounts dating back centuries. Children who stopped aging, who developed strange abilities, who became gradually separated from humanity. The descriptions matched Kadia's transformation with disturbing precision. Some cases ended with the child simply disappearing, presumably having fully transformed into whatever entity had possessed them. Others ended more tragically, with desperate families or frightened communities taking extreme action. Between these accounts were descriptions of rituals, prayers, methods of exorcism from various traditions. Christian rites alongside older pagan practices. Folk remedies next to elaborate ceremonial instructions. These can't all work, Anna whispered, tracing a finger over a particularly complex diagram. They contradict each other. Perhaps what matters is belief, Mikuel suggested. Faith that something will work. And if nothing does? Anna's voice broke. Mikuel had no answer. 3 nights later, as promised, Babea arrived at the Vulof home after midnight. With her came 2 other village elders. Stepan Orlov, a hunter whose knowledge of the forest was unmatched, and Galina Petrova, a woman known for her ability to find lost things and lost people. Where is the child? Babea asked without greeting. Sleeping, Anna replied, glancing nervously toward Kadia's closed bedroom door. Are you certain? Galina asked. Her milky eyes had been blind since birth, but people said she could see in other ways. She turned toward the door. Mikuel nodded. I checked 10 minutes ago. She takes longer to fall asleep now, but when she does, she sleeps deeply. Until she doesn't, Stepan muttered, removing his worn fur hat to reveal a balding head. We should hurry. The group moved silently through the kitchen to Kadia's bedroom door. Babea took out a small bottle of clear liquid from her shawl. She uncorked it and sprinkled the contents on the threshold. To keep what's inside from coming out, she explained in a whisper. Stepan placed a small bundle of dried herbs above the door frame. And this to keep what's outside safe. Galina said nothing, her blind eyes fixed unseeing on the wooden panels. Her lips moved in silent words known only to her. Mikuel opened the door. The room beyond was dark, lit only by thin moonlight filtering through the curtains. Kadia lay in her small bed, chest rising and falling steadily. The leather pouch was visible against her nightgown. The adults entered silently, forming a loose circle around the bed. Babea nodded to Mikuel, who gently placed his hands on Kadia's shoulders, ready to hold her if necessary. Anna stood by with a small glass of liquid, a sleeping tea Babea had prepared in case they needed to keep Kadia calm. The old midwife began to speak. Her voice was barely above a whisper in a language Mikuel didn't recognize. It was older than Russian, possibly older than any tongue still spoken in the modern world. Stepan joined in, his deep voice harmonizing with her cracked one. Galina swayed slightly, adding her own melodic line to the strange chorus. As they chanted, Babea reached for the leather pouch around Kadia's neck. The moment her fingers touched the cord, the girl's eyes snapped open. They were completely black. No white, no iris, like holes punched in reality. I warned you, came the voice from Kadia's mouth. It was the layered harmonic voice they had heard once before, but stronger now, more confident. She is mine now. Mikuel tightened his grip on his daughter's shoulders as she began to thrash with strength far beyond what her small frame should possess. The bed creaked and shuddered. Hold her, Babea commanded, abandoning her chant to grab at the pouch again. Kadia's back arched impossibly. Her spine bent at an angle that should have broken it. A high-pitched keening came not from her mouth, which was stretched in a silent scream, but from somewhere deeper, as if the sound came from inside her chest. The tea! Babea shouted to Anna, who rushed forward with the glass. As she approached, an invisible force struck her, sending the glass flying against the wall where it shattered. The liquid hissed as it hit the wooden surface. "The pouch!" Galina cried, her blind eyes wide with terror. "It must be removed." Stepan lunged forward, hunting knife in hand, slashing at the cord around Kadia's neck. The leather parted. The pouch fell onto the blanket. Instantly, Kadia went rigid, then limp. The blackness faded from her eyes, revealing normal gray irises wide with confusion and fear. "Mama," she whispered, her voice her own again. "Papa, what's happening?" "It's all right, Katusha," Mikuel soothed, his grip gentle but not releasing. "We're trying to help you." Babea snatched up the pouch, holding it away from the bed. "Stepan, the fire." The hunter nodded, taking the pouch and going toward the kitchen stove, which had been heated to full heat in preparation. "No!" Kadia suddenly screamed, struggling against her father's hands. "Don't! You don't understand. It will be angry." "What will be angry, child?" Galina asked, moving closer to the bed. Her blind eyes somehow found and held Kadia's gaze. "The one who whispers. The one who keeps me safe." Tears streamed down Kadia's face. "It promised I would never have to grow old, never get sick, never die. It said it would protect me forever." "And what did it ask in return?" Galina pressed. Kadia's struggles stopped. Her expression became uncertain. Just a place to stay inside me. It said we would share." "And have you been sharing truly?" Galina's voice was gentle. "Or has it been taking more and more of you, leaving less of Kadia behind?" The girl's face crumpled. I don't know anymore. Sometimes I can't remember who I am. Sometimes I watch myself doing things, saying things, but it's not me deciding." From the kitchen came the sound of the stove door clanging open, followed by Stepan's voice raised in a prayer or spell. His words were unclear, but the rhythm was unmistakable. Kadia stiffened again. Her eyes widened in terror. "No, stop him. If he destroys it." Her words cut off as her body convulsed. Her back arched again at that impossible angle. From her open mouth came not a scream but a stream of dark smoke, twisting like a living thing as it formed a shape above the bed. The temperature in the room dropped. Frost formed on the windows despite the May warmth outside. The smoke twisted, forming something that looked like a person but was wrong. Arms too long, head misshapen, features suggested rather than defined. "Old one, be gone," Babea commanded, throwing a handful of powder into the apparition. "You have no claim here." The smoke shape shuddered, making that same high-pitched keening they had heard before. It lunged toward Kadia, who lay limp in her father's grasp, eyes rolled back, showing only whites. Galina stepped between them, arms outstretched. "By earth that bears us, by air we breathe, by water that flows in our veins, by fire that warms our hearts, you are denied this child." The smoke pulled back, then surged forward again with greater force, wrapping around Galina completely. The blind woman screamed once, a sound of pure agony, before falling to the floor. From the kitchen came a cry of triumph from Stepan, followed by a roaring sound as something caught fire with unusual intensity. The smoke shape above the bed twisted violently, stretching toward the door as if being pulled. A soundless howl seemed to come from it, felt rather than heard, vibrating in the bones of everyone present. Then, with a final convulsion, it broke apart, not vanishing, but rather seeming to tear into pieces, fragments dissolving into the air like mist under strong sunlight. Silence fell, broken only by ragged breathing and the soft crackle of the fire in the kitchen. Kadia lay unconscious, her face peaceful for the first time in months. Galina remained on the floor. Babea knelt beside her, checking for signs of life. "Is it gone?" Anna asked, her voice barely audible. "For now," Babea replied without looking up. "The anchor is destroyed. Its hold is broken. But such things don't truly die. They retreat. Wait, look for new doorways." "Will it come back for Kadia?" Mikuel asked, still holding his daughter's limp form. Perhaps not." The old woman sighed heavily. These old ones are patient. They think in centuries, not moments. But they also hold grudges. Stepan returned from the kitchen, his face pale. It fought the fire. The flames turned green, then black. The bone figure screamed, a sound no object should make. He crossed himself, a gesture forbidden by Soviet doctrine, but ingrained by centuries of tradition. It's ash now, nothing but ash. Babea looked up from Galina's still form, her expression grave. We've paid a price tonight. Galina has crossed over. The old one took her instead of the child. Mikuel and Anna bowed their heads in grief and gratitude for the sacrifice. Stepan muttered a prayer while Babea closed Galina's sightless eyes with gentle fingers. What do we do now? Anna asked, moving to sit on the bed beside her daughter, stroking the wheat-colored hair from her forehead. You leave, Babea said firmly. Tonight, if possible. Tomorrow at the latest. Go far from this place. Change your names. Never speak of what happened here. The authorities won't simply let us leave, Mikuel protested. We need permits, papers. I have connections, Stepan said quietly. People who move between worlds, the Soviet world and the older one beneath it. For a price, they can help you disappear. We have little money, Anna began. Not that kind of price, the hunter interrupted. A promise that you will watch over your daughter. That you will teach her to recognize the signs should the old one or another like it come calling again. That you will pass this knowledge to her children and her children's children. Mikuel nodded solemnly. We promise. That night, as Babea and Stepan prepared Galina's body for a secret burial in the forest, one that would never be recorded in Soviet records, the Vulofs packed what few things they could carry. Clothes, some food, the family icon hidden inside a loaf of bread. Mikuel's tools wrapped in oilcloth. Kadia remained unconscious until dawn, when she woke with a sharp gasp, sitting upright in bed as if pulled by strings. Kadusha, Anna approached carefully. How do you feel? The girl looked around confused, then down at her own hands as if seeing them for the first time. Empty, she whispered. Hollow inside, but myself again. Mikuel knelt beside the bed. Do you remember what happened? Kadia nodded slowly. Some of it, like a dream that's fading. Her hand went to her throat, finding the pouch gone. It's really over? Yes, Mikuel assured her, though a flicker of doubt remained in his heart. We're leaving Krem today, going somewhere new, somewhere safe. Will it find me again? Kadia asked, fear evident in her voice. Not if we're careful, Anna said, sitting beside her daughter and gathering her into an embrace. Not if we remember what happened and stay alert. As the first light of dawn brightened the eastern sky, the Vulof family slipped away from their home of many years. Stepan met them at the edge of the forest, leading them along hidden paths known only to hunters and those who lived on the margins of Soviet society. 3 days later, they boarded a freight train bound for the east, hidden among crates of machinery headed for the new industrial cities being built in the Urals. Their papers, obtained through channels best left unexamined, identified them as the Vulov family. Workers volunteering for the 5-year plan's ambitious projects. Over the following weeks, as they traveled further from Krem, a subtle change began in Kadia. One morning, as they washed at a stream during a stop, Anna noticed a loose tooth in her daughter's mouth, the first sign of normal childhood development in years. Mama, look, Kadia exclaimed, wiggling the tooth with her tongue. I'm growing again. Tears filled Anna's eyes as she embraced her daughter. Mikuel, watching from a few paces away, felt a knot of tension he'd carried for months finally begin to unravel. The Vulof family, now the Vulovs, eventually settled in Magnitogorsk, one of the massive industrial complexes being constructed as showcases of Soviet achievement. There, amid the chaos of a city being built from nothing, they blended in with thousands of other workers and their families. Kadia grew normally from that point forward, shooting up several inches in the first year, losing baby teeth, gaining adult ones. By 1935, she had become a teenager, indistinguishable from her peers, except for a certain wariness in her eyes, a certain caution in forming friendships. But at night, sometimes Mikuel or Anna would find her staring out the window of their cramped apartment, watching the stars with an intensity that reminded them of darker times. On those occasions, one parent would gently lead her back to bed, reminding her of the promise they had all made to remember, to stay alert, to recognize the whispers of ancient things that envied human life. And sometimes, when the night was particularly dark and the stars particularly bright, Kadia would admit in whispers that she could still feel it out there, searching, not just for her, but for any child with a door left open between worlds. "But I'm closing my door," she would say, her voice growing stronger with each passing year. "I'm locking it tight, and someday I'll teach others to do the same." In 1941, when Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union, Kadia was 21, a young woman working as a nurse in the Magnitogorsk hospital. As the city transformed its industrial capacity to support the war effort, she volunteered for a medical unit heading to the front lines. The night before her departure, she sat with her aging parents in their kitchen, drinking tea in silence until Kadia finally spoke. "It never stopped looking for me," she said quietly. "All these years, I've felt it searching, but it's grown weaker as I've grown stronger. Each day I age naturally, each change my body goes through weakens its claim on me." "You don't have to go to the front," Anna said, her once dark hair now streaked with gray. "There's danger enough here." "I'm not running from danger anymore," Kadia replied, taking her mother's hand. "I'm running toward purpose. There will be children near the front, refugees, orphans, children made vulnerable by war and loss. The old ones will be drawn to them, offering false comfort, false promises. And you'll recognize the signs," Mikuel stated with pride. "You'll close the doors before they can enter." Kadia nodded. "That's my real war. Not against fascists, though I'll fight them too, but against what waits in the spaces between. The patient hunters of innocence." When she left the next morning, Kadia carried in her pack a small book, not Father Kair's tome, which had been left behind in their flight from Krem, but one she had written herself over the years. In it, she had recorded everything she remembered about her experience, everything her parents had told her, everything she had learned through careful research in libraries and cautious conversations with the keepers of old knowledge who still existed in the shadows of Soviet society. A record, a warning, a guide for others who might face what she had faced. The war raged for 4 long years. Mikuel and Anna received occasional letters from their daughter, carefully worded to pass military censors, but containing coded phrases that assured them she was safe and continuing her secret work. In her last letter, dated April 1945 as Soviet forces closed in on Berlin, Kadia wrote, "I found 3 children last week, siblings orphaned near Dresden. The youngest, a boy of 6, was already wearing a pouch around his neck, given to him by a friendly shadow. I recognized it immediately. When I burned it, something screamed in the distance beyond the artillery fire. The boy cried for a day and a night, then woke smiling, asking when breakfast would be served. His first interest in food in months, the nurses tell me. I am not alone in this work. I've discovered there are others." A French resistance fighter who specializes in finding children hidden during the Nazi occupation. A British RAF pilot who swears his plane is guided by something beyond instruments when searching for downed crews. A Polish woman who can tell with a touch whether a child is truly themselves or hosting something else. We have agreed to stay in contact after the war ends, to form a network, to watch for signs and share knowledge. The old ones have fed well during this conflict. So many doors left open by trauma and loss, but we are closing them one by one. I may not return to Magnitogorsk when this is over. My work will take me elsewhere. But know that the frightened child you saved in Krem has grown into someone who saves others. The chain remains unbroken. With endless love and gratitude, your Katusha. Mikuel and Anna Vulov, living out their final years as the Solovs, never saw their daughter again. Whether she fell in the war's final battles or simply disappeared into her new purpose, they never knew with certainty. But sometimes, in the decades that followed, they would hear stories. An American exchange teacher in Moscow who identified a troubled child as being between. A doctor in Leningrad renowned for treating children with mysterious ailments that defied medical explanation. A gray-eyed woman who appeared at sites of disasters where children had been orphaned or traumatized, and who always departed once she had identified and helped certain specific young ones. And occasionally, rarely, they would receive a package with no return address, containing a new page or two for the book they kept hidden beneath a floorboard in their bedroom. Additional knowledge, new methods, updated warnings about the old ones and their evolving tactics. The last such package arrived in 1963, shortly after Mikuel's death. Inside, Anna found a single sheet of paper containing just a few lines. The work continues. The network grows. Some doors will always be left open that cannot be helped. But more are closed now than open. More children grow naturally than remain suspended. It is enough to know we fight, even if we cannot win completely. The girl who never aged now has gray in her hair and lines around her eyes, and she has never been more grateful for these signs of time's passage. It was signed with a single letter, K. In the decades since, the network Kadia helped establish has continued its quiet work, identifying children at risk, recognizing the signs of ancient entities seeking entry to our world, closing doors left open by trauma, loss, or simple vulnerability. Their records, passed from hand to hand, guardian to guardian, contain accounts from across history and around the world. Children who stopped aging, parents who grew afraid of their own offspring, ancient things that whisper promises too tempting to refuse. And always at the core of their knowledge, the story of a girl in 1930s Russia who made a bargain with darkness, whose parents fought to save her, and who grew up to save others. A reminder that the most terrifying monsters are not those that attack from without, but those that offer what we most desire, asking only for a small space within us in return. A reminder that true horror lies not in the grotesque or the violent, but in the subtle wrongness of a child who never ages, frozen in time while everything around them changes, dies, and is forgotten. The whispers continue. The doors still open. The network still watches. And somewhere, perhaps, a gray-eyed woman still works. Impossibly old now if natural laws apply to her, but perhaps sustained by other means, other bargains made with better entities than the one she escaped in her childhood. Still closing doors, still saving children, still ensuring that the natural order birth, growth, age, and eventual peaceful death remains the rightful path for human souls. For in that natural progression, terrible and beautiful as it is, lies our true humanity, our triumph over the ancient darkness that waits, patient and hungry, in the spaces between worlds.